auspicious occasion of a dialogue between the innovators, the leaders of today. I would like to request all the dignitaries present here today with us, Honorable Vice Chancellor of MIT World Peace University, Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor of MIT World Peace University, Madam Pallavi Jain, the moderator of today's session, Mr. B.Gdeshmukh, and the dignitaries of the evening to kindly come up stage for lighting the traditional lamp. Big round of applause, my friends, as the traditional lamp has been lit at the hands of Shri D.A. Prasanna ji, Shri Ravi Ramamurthy ji, Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir, Pro Vice Chancellor, Dean School of Business, and all the dignitaries. I request all the dignitaries to kindly accept the chairs. Students are requested to kindly occupy the chairs quickly. A very good evening and warm welcome to everyone in the audience as well as all the dignitaries on the dais. It is indeed our pleasure to host such an important and beautiful event today on the campus of Dr. Vishwanath Karad, MIT World Peace University. I would like to share with all the dignitaries present here today and everyone in the audience that it has been a practice on the campus of every institution of MIT that we start every important occasion with a prayer. But unfortunately, in our country, the moment we say prayer, it is immediately attached to a religion or a caste or a creed or something like that. But I'm really happy to share with you that this tradition, which we have been following for the last 4 decades, this prayer is called as World Peace Prayer. And this prayer, if you pay attention to the words, it does not talk about any particular caste, creed, religion, or any section of society. So I would like to request the same to everyone in the audience as well as on the dais, to, if they can please rise in your seats, fold your hands, close your eyes, bring the image of your deity, your mother, father in front of your eyes, and wholeheartedly participate in World Peace Prayer.
वेद प्रतिपाद्या जय जय स्वसंवेद्या आत्मरूपा देवा तूति गणेषु अर्थमति प्रकाशु निवृत्तिदा अवधारि गोदी ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते काय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now I would like to invite on stage the representative of Sakal Media, Mr. Ashutosh Ramgirji, to kindly propose the welcome address.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, and all brilliant minds of MIT World Peace University, fasten your seatbelts and prepare for a thrill ride like no other. We are not just diving into a fascinating world of innovation and leadership today. We are about to embark on a journey that promises not only to expand our minds, but to inject a hearty dose of inspiration. And let me tell you, folks, we are assembled an all-star cast of inspiration superheroes and are about to take this event to an all-new level. But before we leap into the exhilarating unknown, let's pause for a moment and give a big shout-out to the star-studded lineup we have managed to gather in this cosmic arena. We are talking about respected VC, Dr. R.M. Chitnis, a walking encyclopedia, and without whose support, this event would have not been possible. And then hold on your hats because we have got Mr. D.A. Prasanna, the Jedi Master of Leadership. And if that's not enough to get your heart racing, we have also got Mr. Ravi Ramamurthy, the Grand Wizard of Innovation. And let's not forget our mentors, Dr. Deependra Sharma, Dr. Kamtekar, Dr. Milind Pandey, the dream team that orchestrated the awe-inspiring extravaganza. In this constellation of our esteemed guests, we would also soon have, We also have Pallavi Jain. She's the Managing Director of Krishna Diagnostics, who adds her brilliance to this cosmic display. Now, my friends, as we venture into the territories of innovation and leadership, let us draw upon the wisdom of two remarkable minds who have left an indelible mark on the tapestry of human thought, Sant Jnaneshwar and Swami Vivekananda. These intellectual titans, hailing from different epochs and backgrounds, have gifted us with insights that continue to resonate in our modern quest of progress. Jnaneshwar once dropped this gem, and I quote, "Innovation is not merely about creating something new, but about seeing the world anew." Wrap your minds around that for seconds. True innovations isn't about flashy gadgets and gizmos. It's about putting on those creative goggles and seeing the world in brand new light. Sant Jnaneshwar challenges us to break free from the shackles of routine thinking. To peer beyond the obvious and embrace the audacious. So, my fellow explorers, let's just think outside the box. Let's not just think outside the box. Let's shred the box and craft a whole new dimension of possibility. But that's not all. Swami Vivekananda steps up with his own nugget of wisdom, and I quote, "Leadership is the art of igniting the spark of excellence within oneself and others." He reminds us that leadership isn't about flexing your authoritative muscle. It's about tapping into the reservoir of brilliance within each individual and setting their potential ablaze. A true leader isn't a dictator. They are the symphony conductor, orchestrating a harmonious blend of talents that propel the entire ensemble to greatness. Let's don the lenses of creative perception, just like Sant Jnaneshwar suggested, and embrace every challenge as an opportunity to chart new horizon. Let's heed Swami Vivekananda's call to become leaders who fan the flames of excellence, not just within ourselves, but within every soul we encounter. On behalf of Sakal Publications, a very warm welcome to each and every one of you to this truly remarkable event, where we have the privilege of hosting two distinguished thought leaders who are poised to unravel the fascinating realms of innovation and leadership. It is also an opportune moment to extend our heartfelt gratitude to Professor Dr. Vishwanath Karad for his blessings, to Shri Rahul Karad for his guidance, and to all those who have made this event possible. On behalf of Sakal Publications, I would like to express a sincere appreciation to MIT World Peace University, Krishna Diagnostics Limited, our esteemed speakers, and every individual who has contributed their time and effort to bring this event to fruition. Sakal Publications has always been dedicated to fostering knowledge, inspiring thought, and kindling conversations that shape our society's fabric. Rooted in spirituality, our mission and vision remain unwavering: to serve as a guiding light of credible and impactful journalism, and not only informs but empower individuals, allowing them to make enlightened decisions. Through a diverse range of publications, we strive to cultivate a sacred space where ideas find nourishment, discussions flourish, and perspectives harmoniously converge. Now, we all know that innovation and leadership are like dynamic duo of progress. They are the Batman and Robin, for some Doctor Strange and Thor, if you may like, minus the capes usually. But here's the twist: with Batman and Robin fight villains, innovation and leadership battle the mundane, the outdated, and the "we have always done it this way" mentality. So buckle up, because we are about to explore these superpowers in action. And as we uncover the secrets of innovation and leadership, let's remember that even the most groundbreaking ideas need a dose of inspiration to take flight. So while we dive deep into the realms, let's keep our eyes peeled for those aha moments. You know, the ones that you make, "I could have thought of that if I had few extra PhDs." With that, let's raise our intellectual glasses and toast to a day filled with learning, full of superhero wisdom. Welcome to the Innovation and Leadership Extravaganza, where ideas collide, leadership shines, and innovation takes center stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ashutosh ji. And now it's time that, as per the tradition, we would like to felicitate and welcome all the dignitaries present here with us today. First and foremost, I would like to request Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, to kindly felicitate and welcome Shri D.A. Prasanna ji. D.A. Prasanna ji, who brings with him the decades of experience in leading GE Healthcare India, Wipro, GE, and Manipal Group to new heights. He specializes in driving breakthrough innovations to deliver low-cost solutions, especially for emerging markets. Please put your hands together and welcome with a round of applause, Shri D.A. Prasanna ji. I would now like to request Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor Sir to kindly felicitate and welcome Sri Ravi Ramamurthy ji, who is a distinguished academic from Northwestern University, Boston. He made significant contributions to the field of international business and strategic management. With extensive research and teaching experience, his work focuses on emerging markets and innovation. Please put your hands together and welcome Sri Ravi Ramamurthy ji. I would now like to request Dr. Deependra Sharma sir to kindly felicitate and welcome Madam Pallavi Jain. Co-founder and Managing Director of Krishna Diagnostics Limited. Please put your hands together and welcome her with a round of applause. And keeping the same momentum, I would like to request all the dignitaries to kindly unveil both the books for which we are here today. Innovate Locally to Win Globally by Sri D.A. Prasanna ji and Reverse Innovate in Healthcare by Ravi Ramamurthy ji. A big round of applause, my friends. I think we have one more. Yeah. The Reverse Innovation in Healthcare by Professor Ravi Ramamurthy ji. A big round of applause for both the works of art and beauty and intelligence. Thank you very much. I would now like to request the Honorable Vice Chancellor of MIT World Peace University, Professor Dr. R.M. Chitnis sir, to kindly address the gathering.
Good evening and namaskar, Honorable Ravi Ramamurthy ji. University, which is Ivy League University in Massachusetts, Boston. This book which we have seen has been published by Harvard Business School on the reverse innovation. Honorable D.A. Prasanna sir, who was at the helm of affairs in this country when it comes to diagnostic. Many years back, doctors had only stethoscope and thermometer and BP machine, which was manual. But today, MRI and CT scan, huge machines. The idea behind that and manufacturing was done by none other than D.A. Prasanna. Life expectancy in 1947 was 31 years. In 2023, you are assured to live 72 to 73 years. This change is because of diagnostic, and the extra 40 years to each one of us, credit goes to D.A. Prasanna. Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor Milind Pandeyji, Sakal Head of Publications Ramgirji, Krishna Diagnostic Head Pallavi Jain, Dean Management of MIT World Peace University Dr. Deependra Sharma, Vardadkar sir, who worked at a deputy CEO level in GE Healthcare, can I say Wipro GE Healthcare, shoulder to shoulder with D.A. Prasanna sir, all the faculty members, deans in the front row of MITWPU, all the invitees of Sakal, those who are making it convenient. My favorite photographer, head of Sakal, Shahji Jadhav ji, I make it a point to point out because one of the beautiful photograph with Dalai Lama, myself and Rahul Karad, which became iconic photo in this world, was clicked by him. Very candid photograph. All the students of MITWPU, let me go little informal this time. You have seen me always in the shoes and the hats of a disciplinarian, but I think your deans should be grateful to you. It's a Friday evening. Tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday you don't have a lecture and still the hall is full. You should ask dinner in JW Marriott today to your deans and program departments. And cherish it while reading and discussing these two beautiful books. One is input to your belly, one is input to your brain. We were expecting a lot of outside people will come, so my office has told me to speak something about MIT. At the cost of repetition, just 3 minutes, please listen to me. And then another 2-3 minutes I will speak about you. Yeah. Now, this particular hall, Vivekananda, is amalgamation of scientists and spiritual leaders. This world is made of gods earlier, God's messengers, some scientists, some philosophers. Whatever they have done, we are following as a culture. And we are adding new knowledge in science, technology, and also in the philosophy or political science, as the case may be. But Dr. Karad sir, when he was young like you, he went to COEP, Government College of Engineering, Pune. And after his induction, he went to Appa Badwan Chowk to buy a book of engineering. And the young boy, 18-19-year-old Dr. Vishwanath Karad, who is 82-year-old today, and he was asked by the salesperson that, do you have 50 paisa extra? And he checked he was having. And forcefully, the bookseller gave him book written by Swami Vivekananda, which is Pearls of Wisdom. And this line changed his axis at the age of 18-19. And that is the creation, or that is the point of origin or creation or conceptualization of MIT World Peace University. 60 years back, he read this line and he said that this is going to be inspiration. Dr. Karad sir created 6 universities. One is here, one in Loni, one in Meghalaya, one in Madhya Pradesh, one in Solapur, and one in Goa. And another 60-70 college affiliated to University of Pune or the schools. 2000, exactly 2000, 23 years back, his son took over, Harvard alumnus, engineer and MBA from UK too. And he put in another axis that all these young boys and girls, those who are intelligent, they work in corporate, but do they have any kind of a responsibility for making this country better, the democracy fabric to be strengthened? I'm witness to that because I'm working with him for a long time, and your media, your judiciary, your bureaucracy, your army and your politicos, if they are not following right path, then it is your responsibility to make them straight. That thought, Bharatiya Chhatra Samsad, was started exactly 12 years back, one tapa, and National Legislators Conference 15, 16, 17 June in Mumbai in last month. Another axis came to WPU. Core thought is peace, core values, universal education. You should be physically fit, mentally alert, intellectually sharp, but spiritually related. That brings success to you. Not your engineering knowledge or finance knowledge or maybe your arts, science, commerce or architecture or hospitality school, whichever school of MITW. MITWPU today has 155 degree and post-graduation program, 30 PhD programs. So that is important to get into company, but then go up in the ladder at a young age, at the age of 30. And today's point would be then to quit after working long there and start own company and then employ all the MITians or maybe whichever college you want to employ. And then become a CEO of your own company where you are initially employing 2-3 boys, girls, later on 5,000 plus people are reporting to you. That journey is today's topic. So come out of this particular expectation that MIT will provide you job placements for which you are here in addition to degree, which will do. But in addition to that, think of innovation, think of entrepreneurship, think also of some kind of a self or own startup. And that is called as a complete different kind of a mindset. Allow me to say this sentence in Marathi. उद्योजकता किंवा इनोव्हेशन ह्याला एक मानसिकता लागते. ती मानसिकता आपण अभ्यासक्रमात देऊन वाढवू शकतो. असा एक कोर्स मिस्टर नाडकर्णी यांनी 40 वर्षापूर्वी काढला. तो हार्वर्ड बिझनेस स्कूलमध्ये गेला. ते मोठे झाले. आपण तिथेच राहिलो. The entrepreneurship journey started on the border of Maharashtra and Andhra Pradesh. And then Harvard people were there, professors of Indian University and Harvard University. They took achievement motivation study. I don't know what is your opinion, sir, on this, but A&M, achievement motivation study, is one of the input required, like we are saying these four, if you want to become successful entrepreneur. And that has origin in India, on the border of Maharashtra and Andhra Pradesh. Some trivia. We are now 6 universities, more than 10,000 staff. This is a conglomerate or the ecosystem or cluster. What is expectation from you in terms of values, discipline, transparency, ethics, integrity, peace, critical thinking, dignity, respect, and trust. Tell me one thing, if you don't give respect to others, what is the advantage to you? Do you get 1 kg gold? Answer is no. If you don't follow this, there is no advantage. If you follow this, there is an advantage. We have a culture of entrepreneurship, innovation, RIDE, of which Dr. Pandey sir will speak. We have RIDE, RID, all of you will have to go through that. We have HACK, that is hackathon. And then we have 5 crore budget for innovations and entrepreneurship, where you will be working. We also have independent TPI in the next building. Suppose you don't get office outside and you don't have funds, then use our office, air-conditioned office, just for 5,000-7,000 rupees. If the startup is new, idea is new. RIDE is the program which Dr. Pandey sir will speak about, and this is the book, Innovate Locally but Win the Entire World. Sir, you might not know that I have gone through the book and I have selected 2 slides. Just in 1 minute I'll finish. I like chapter 11, Lead India, which says that locally made ultrasound and CT scanners at affordable price for all patients. Look at the idea. And moving up the technology value chain and bring accurate diagnosis to patients in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Look at the idea. These kind of idea germinate entrepreneurship. And on the technology one, after COVID, what happens? My time is getting over. I also liked this particular statement of yours, where you say that as countries de-risk, it's in the second last chapter, if I'm not wrong, de-risk their China concentration in their supply chain, India must learn from others who have successfully collaborated. For instance, companies from Japan, Korea, and Taiwan are managing to do business with China while fighting with them politically. So how to do business with the enemies? And why India is not? Is it possible to have a beautiful business relationship with our neighbors where we don't have good relations? Question mark. I want to talk to you about your inclination towards startup culture. This year's right dates are announced, which Dr. Pandey sir will talk. We are given some 10, 12 minutes put together, so 6 minutes me, 6 minutes he will speak. But I am saying that today, wow yourself that I will be owner of such company where I can employ 2,000, 20,000, 2 lakh people. At least 2 people you will employ. It may happen that you might have your own chopper 20 years down the line, own private jet, you might have bungalow in Fiji Island and factory in New Zealand, whatever. We wish you best of the best for that. But do not forget your alma mater. Please come to the main gate, near Durga Cafe. I may be old by that time. My teeth might have gone, my hairs might have gone. There could be stick in my hand, or young boy could be supporting me to walk few steps. but I will be there to receive you at the main gate as a great entrepreneur, and I will publicly salute you because you are making India as number one in the world. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for those beautiful words of wisdom. My friends, now I would like to invite on stage the Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor of MIT World Peace University, Dr. Milind Pandey, sir, to kindly address the gathering.
Very good evening to every one of you. I thanks Sakal Media and Honorable Vice Chancellor jointly, they thought it off, and we are witnessing the great innovative evening today. Honorable Ravi Ramurthy sir and Honorable D.A. Prasanna sir, thank you for blessing our students here. Very rightly said by Pro Vice Chancellor, I always used to say MIT, and if you remove I from MIT, what remains is empty. So what is that I? I is innovation, incubation, invention. And that is why all of us, we are here to listen to the great masters. My friends, this MITWPU, we thought of imbibing that innovative mindset into the students, those who have taken admission to this. Sir, let me tell you, these are the 4 categories of the students who are taking admissions to any university. They are C, D, E, F. C, those who would like to get into the campus recruitment, C. D is degree bundling, those who would like to go for the higher education. E is entrepreneurship. And F is freelancer, pata hi nahi kya karna hai. So this university is majorly focusing on this E component, which is hardly 1% till today. Even though the Prime Minister has said the IT plus IT is equal to IT, the innovative technologies plus Indian talent is equal to India tomorrow. If you'd like to build up the India tomorrow, these innovative technologies has to be imbibed into the mindset of the students. But still, maybe the Startup India, Stand Up India, and so many initiatives has taken up. We have MIT TBI, rightly said by the Vice Chancellor, sir. Atal Innovation Mission, Atal Incubation Center, so many things are coming up. MIT TBI, these are the sort of systematic efforts we are trying to develop this entrepreneurial mindset amongst the students. So we came up with the 4 specially designed program for this entrepreneurial mindset. One is co-creation. In association with the Netherlands University, we started this program in the first year itself. Second semester, we are coming up with the program called SLDP, Social Leadership Development Program. Third is Hackathon. Many people, you may not aware of it, but hackathon, hack plus marathon is hackathon. What is hack? To extract the best of the best things, the innovative things from your mindsets and finding the solution at the fastest possible time, the marathon. Hack plus marathon is hackathon. So hackathon, sir, let me tell you, right from the inception of the hackathon, the MIT WPU students, they won the first top 12 prizes amongst all categories of hackathon. And that is the consistency. Even, yes, you deserved a big round of applause for this. I remember Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji gave away the prizes in the India-Singapore hackathon also. So hackathon, if I would like to give the statistics of the hackathon, sir, the hackathon is 450 plus teams, one team consisting of 5 students, 1 girl student. 450 teams, 5 tracks, Ideathon, Workathon, Made in WPU, Entrepreneurial track, and Pharmathon, Pharmacy hackathon, Media hackathon. So many types, students are coming, submitting their solutions to the different problem statements. 29 ministries, the problems from the industry, problem from the NGOs, problem from the universities. They are applying their minds, coming up with the solutions, submitting the problems. And this institution has gave away the 1 lakh rupees per team as the initial funding, as the initial cost. and more than 1.633 crores invested on developing those ideas. We are fostering this entrepreneurial mindset. We are firmly believing on this topic, whatever ideas coming to their mind, how we can take that idea to implementation. Whatever the ideas coming to your mind, how that mind can go to the market, and the most important is the idea to implementation, M to M, that is mind to market, and most importantly, the product development. So my friends, next comes RIDE, R-I-D-E. This is the flagship event of the innovation in this MITWPU. RIDE stands for R for Research, Innovation, Design and Entrepreneurship, RIDE. 7,000 students, 2 credit compulsory program, 5 sectors identified: healthcare, technology, sustainability, retail, and we are mentoring the students. We are again believing on the concept called MAP, mentor, attitude and passion. We want all students, they have to have the innovation in head, compassion in heart and passion in belly. And that is what we are trying to transform the personality of the student into the winning personality of the student. But remember, we are also taking care of the failure. It's not a job of everyone to become an entrepreneur. बहुत कुछ कहते हैं हम लोग, but this is not a job of everyone. As I said, CDEF, the maximum students, more than 86%, they are taking the admissions for the campus recruitment. This is the fact, remains today also. So failure, many countries like Israel, they used to celebrate the failure. Failure, the definition of the fail is first attempt in learning. And that's why we are also trying to teach you, get fail. Let us celebrate the failure and come up with the new ideas. And then the MITWPU will give you the systematic platform to perform. ऐसा कहा जाता है कि राह में मुश्किल होगी हजार, तुम 2 कदम बढ़ाओ तो सही, हो जाएगा हर सपना साकार, तुम चलो तो सही, तुम चलो तो सही. This is, my friend, this is very, very important. चलते रहना is very, very important in any walk of life. बस चलते रहो, चलते रहो, चलते रहो. So my friends, see, I talked about this failure, the ultimate aim of this university. We want you to become a job giver and not job seeker. That is the first thing, what we are trying. This MIT TBI mentioned by Honorable Vice Chancellor, more than 52 startups, they graduated from MIT TBI. We came out with the MITWPU accelerator. Many more, as I mentioned, currently more than 32 startups, they are working with our MIT TBI. And in addition to this, when I was talking about 7 minutes and I'm finishing it. So there is a systematic approach, sir, at this MITWPU. We have a MITWPU method. So this method, we are also focusing on rural immersion program. Village as a lab, that is the concept. That is the concept what Honorable APJ Abdul Kalam Sahab has even called PURA, P-U-R-A, providing urban opportunities to rural area. All these 7,000 students, they are visiting 700 villages. That is again a credit program. They must spend at least 3 days minimum in the villages. And that is what understanding the different problems of the society, different problems in the villages, and that's why we called it village as a lab. So, so many systematically programmed, the rural immersion, the national immersion, the international immersion, and then capstone project, final project, and so many things. I will conclude with this Atmanirbhar Bharat, what is the entire India. When I said the India tomorrow, and this MITWPU, we are a very small, one of the small university in the developing India as Atmanirbhar Bharat. And this innovation head that is being the focus for all of us. For Atmanirbhar Bharat, there is a one famous poem, and I will recite it. मुश्किलों में धैर्य साहस यही जीने की कला है, मुश्किलों में धैर्य साहस यही जीने की कला है, शिखर तक पहुंचा वही जो आखिरी दम तक चला है. So what is important in all these journeys, हो अगर हिम्मत हृदय में, गर्व से उन्नत हो मस्तक, आत्मनिर्भरता के प्रण से बने भारत युग प्रवर्तक, गर्भ में संभावना के कहीं दृढ़ निश्चय पला है, शिखर तक पहुंचा वही जो आखिरी दम तक चला है, आखिरी दम तक चला है. थैंक यू सो मच.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Such a beautiful way to conclude the address. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for those beautiful words. Now it's time when I request the co-founder and managing director of Krishna Diagnostics, Madam Pallavi Jain, to address the gathering.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and all the esteemed personalities sitting on the dais and honoring it. I feel the smallest amongst you all, in not only terms of age, but also in terms of experience. I have Prasanna sir, and when I was going through the profile and the book, and having been the root for Wipro GE's birth, and Krishna Diagnostics being GE's largest customer, is what a coincidence to share the dais with you. I indeed feel honored to be present here. Good evening to all the upcoming future of our country. I always love interacting with students, though I get very rare opportunity, but whenever I get, I love to grab it. About Krishna Diagnostics, I don't know how many people know, but when respected Chancellor sir was speaking, I could correlate many things, especially from the slide 11, what he mentioned about innovating and also manufacturing the CT scan and ultrasound equipments in the country. I proudly like to say that Krishna Diagnostics has played a pivotal role in the designing of the CT scan equipment, which is manufactured in Bangalore. Because Krishna Diagnostics is present in 18 states across the country, and we have deliberately chosen to be present at the most rural locations of our country, where people dreamt of having quality health care at affordable prices. Locations like Manipur, Meghalaya, Assam, where we had to carry our CT scan or our X-ray machines using all the modes of transport, including air, water, railway, road, because we had to cross the Brahmaputra, take the X-ray machines through boat. But it has been an amazing journey of last 12 years. Also during COVID times, as sir you mentioned that, out-of-box thinking, out-of-box ideas definitely make a lot of impact. And Krishna was the only company to come up with the out-of-box idea of making a mobile van, which was a COVID testing bus, which was the first in the world, which was not only globally recognized, but it turned out to be a life-saving or a game changer during the most critical times of COVID, where this bus used to go to the most dense populated area and used to do the X-ray in the bus and also the RT-PCR swab testing. So we've also been very much on forefront using technology and innovation. We feel proud to be the largest in the country, joining hands with various state governments and providing quality diagnostics at the most affordable prices. When I say most affordable, I mean I'm almost lower 60 to 70% than my competitor, but not compromising in the quality, because as I mentioned during the beginning of my speech that we are GE's largest buyer, so we do not compromise that equipment, which makes very clear, and GE makes the best-in-class equipments. When it comes to pathology, we have the names of Roche and all the world-class equipments with us. Sir, the MITWPU University is in the Kothrud area. So we all know that Kothrudkars are famous for their, selective measures and, Chokhandar Punekar म्हणून त्यांची ओळख आहे. But I would like to, use this opportunity and extend an invitation to you that even in batches or even whenever possible, our closest center is just 10 minutes away from here, which is the Sutar Hospital. for your students to understand that how government is now changing, how PPP is making a difference in the lives of millions, that when you walk in a private center, you feel that you have a great ambience, but at the same time, you're burning your pocket. If you get the same ambience, same service, same care, same empathy at almost 50 to 60% lower price without compromising on the quality and technology, how can we add to value of our country? And this has been the inception when we started Krishna Diagnostics in 2010. We wanted to reach to the largest and to the most untouched location of our country to ensure that no one is deprived of the basic quality tests, because ultimately diagnostic plays the most important role. Until and unless you don't know what is wrong in your body, you won't get the treatment. So I take this opportunity and request you that we can have the students visit our centers so that seeing is believing. I once again thank Sakal for making us part of this beautiful initiative, and I thank each one of you present to sparing your evening and understanding. I'm looking forward to hear from the two stalwarts and also interacting with everyone present here. Thank you, good evening, and Jai Hind.
Thank you very much. And I think with this, we have come to the moment of this function where we will have the interaction with both the authors. So I think I would like to request all the officials of the university to, if they can occupy the chairs in the front. Ma'am. Just keep 3 chairs only now on stage. You can remove the other chairs. And now, to take this function forward, I would like to give the entire charge of the stage to Shri Girishji so that he can anchor the show and take the discussion forward. Over to you, sir.
Hi, good evening, and welcome again. Thanks for sparing your Friday evening, especially tomorrow being a holiday for all the students in this institute. I really appreciate your presence. It was almost a year ago or slightly ahead. I received a call one day in the afternoon from my boss, asking me a question whether I'm still motivated to work with him. And my boss, Mr. D.A. Prasanna. I have had the privilege of working with him, assisting him in various initiatives for over 25 years. But this time, the job offer was without any salary. So it was all about, can we compile our ideas, what we have learned, the tricks that we have had in the course of the entire business establishment in the space of healthcare. And began the journey of connecting with more than 40, about 50 alumni of GE Healthcare. And the culmination, of course, was in the book, which we will hear in more details. A short introduction. I know that we will probably be out of time if I read all what is with me today. Mr. Prasanna is a distinguished alumnus of National Institute of Engineering, Mysore. He served on the governing council and steered NIE to NIE University, a big transition, serving as founding chancellor of the university. He has served with distinction in education, healthcare, and IT. An alumni of IIM Ahmedabad. And you would also like to know that Professor Ravi and D.A. Prasanna are classmates at IIM Ahmedabad. So some of you who are classmates, batchmates here, would one day be on similar dais, I presume. After completion of his MBA, he joined Tata Administrative Services and led through roles at Telco Voltas, whereafter he was picked up by Azim Premji at Wipro in 1978. At Wipro, Mr. Prasanna provided the impetus to growth and competitiveness in particularly IT or information technology. He has also been founding managing director of the joint venture with General Electric and thereafter a long 15 years of healthcare career with Wipro Beckman, Wipro GE, and the key that he was pushing, the value was nothing is impossible. How do you push yourself to achieve the seemingly impossible was one of his ways to motivate all of us and to drive the results. Subsequent to the healthcare, he has been associated as an executive chairman of Manipal Education and Medical Group. During his tenure, he brought focus on innovation and research leading to medical school, pharmacy school, and driving them to the top 3 in the country. He corporatized the Manipal Group and evolved a strategy to unlock the value almost to the tune of over 500 million. Mr. Prasanna has served on boards of Wipro, Manipal, GE Yokogawa, GE Samsung, and several listed companies in life sciences and technology sector. He also had a hand on entrepreneurship with Manipal, a greenfield clinical research organization, and which became rather #1 Indian CRO with drug development in over 25 countries. Mr. Prasanna is blessed and lucky to have his better half, Mrs. Rajni, who has been the founder of the first university gallery, K.K. Hebbar Art Gallery, and a great art historian. Mr. Prasanna's conviction that capacity needs to be built in public health led to an endowment to create Prasanna School of Public Health at Manipal. Within 5 years of founding, SPH has been ranked among the top 3 in public health research in India with All India Institute of Medical Sciences, CMC Vellore, who did the global ranking. His interest in history led to a history series. He oversees a YouTube history channel with over 150,000 visitors. He has authored or edited 4 history books. So you can recognize the multifarious personality of Mr. Prasanna. And now we're going to be getting to the book, Innovate Locally to Win Globally. As a practitioner today, we will hear, and maybe you have the opportunity, therefore, to ask some tough questions. I would now move to introduce our second esteemed guest and the speaker, Professor Ravi Ramamurthy. Dr. Ravi has been in the field of academics, research, and consulting, a distinguished professor of international business and strategy, the highest honor university can provide. As an expert in strategy and innovation at the center, he has over 60 faculty and researchers. Ravi obtained his graduation in science and physics from Delhi University and his MBA, as you would now guess, from IIM Ahmedabad, a gold medalist. I did not know that, Mr. Prasanna, you were behind him. And of course, a doctorate in business administration from Harvard Business School. Professor Ravi has been a visiting professor at Harvard, Wharton, University of Pennsylvania, and your namesake, MIT, at the Sloan School of Management, and many more universities. Prior to the academia, Ravi worked as a consultant to the Indian Planning Commission, executive assistant to the CEO of one of India's largest engineering company, and a UN advisor to Bangladesh and South Korea. He is ranked among the top 1% of the intelligentsia in this field and has had the privilege of authoring 8 books published by people like Harvard and Cambridge. Professor Ravi has done research and consulting with various firms, private, government, universities, United Nations, USAID, and many similar institutions. One of the other distinctions has been an opportunity for Professor Ravi to work with Dr. Vijay Govindarajan. I'm sure as students of business and the like, you've heard about this name at Dartmouth, where the concept of reverse innovation was thought about. This big idea of reverse innovation caught attention of various global gurus, which finally culminated into a 3-year research and the book that you saw today. So therefore, let us hear once again firsthand from Professor Ravi and Mr. Prasanna. So the lay of the land for the next few minutes of about, say, 45 odd minutes is, I would request Mr. Prasanna to spend some time helping us understand where you come from, and then we will hear Professor Ravi. And then I would expect both of you kind of sit down into a conversation mode and help us navigate through the topic of the day. Mr. Prasanna.
Distinguished academicians, practitioners, my colleague on the dais, Professor Ramurthy, and students who have assembled here. I want to be short so that we start the conversation quickly and stop the monologue. Basically, the book which is in front of you is about how in the diagnostic medical technology sector, a strong role for India was created. Not by saying that we want to become big or we want to become leader or anything like that, but by keeping a goal that can we serve the patients in the remote areas who can't afford much for diagnostics, can we find the right solutions for them? Can we reach these solutions to them? And when we were successful in that, we could take the same ideas, same products, same services to similar economies in the world and make a big business out of it and make India the technology hub, medical technology hub for the whole world. So our conversation will center around some of these, how it was done and the examples. And now I hand over the mic to Professor Ramurthy.
Thank you, Prasanna. Thank you, everyone, for being here. It's a great pleasure to share some of our thoughts with you this evening. As you heard, Prasanna and I were classmates in IIM Ahmedabad, and we knew even back then that Prasanna was going to change the world. You know how you know sometimes this person is going to make a difference? And we all knew. The question was, where was he going to make the difference? And now, of course, we know And we today will have a chance to find out more about how he made a difference. Prasanna is a consummate doer. I ended up becoming, I shouldn't say consummate, but I ended up becoming a thinker rather than a doer. And let me be very clear, the world needs doers more than it needs thinkers. So the tangible effects that of Prasanna's service over the years affecting millions of people, I think that is really very, very important. At the end of the day, that is the goal that I think we all share. Now, my book on reverse innovation probably just needs a little clarification. What is this reverse innovation? Why use that term? The idea is very simple. If you look at the last 200 years or so since the Industrial Revolution, most innovations have gone from the developed countries to the developing countries. And in the last 30 years or so, since many developing countries opened up to globalization, that flow of innovation, that flow of technology and ideas from the developed countries to the developing countries has been very significant and a very important reason for their rapid growth in the last few years. So think of the cell phone as an example. That technology came from outside, but completely has transformed the lives of millions of people all around the world. Reverse innovation is simply a way of saying that today, there is also the opportunity for innovations to go from developing countries to developed countries. Now we can have a long discussion about what kinds of innovations might these poor countries or developing countries develop, and why might they have some value for the developed countries. Certainly that's one topic we can explore. But even in the example you've heard of diagnostic devices or medical devices, as Prasanna said, they developed devices for the Indian market that then had a market all over the world. So that's an example of reverse innovation. Why is this become more important now than it was, say, 30 or 40 years ago? It's really a confluence of two major factors. The first is slowing growth in the developed countries at the same time that growth took off or has taken off in the developing countries. Today, 2/3 of the world's GDP growth comes from the developing countries. And this is likely to continue for the next 2 or 3 decades at least, because there's a long way to go before the developing countries catch up with the developed countries. This means all companies, whether they are in the developing countries or in the developed countries, are now focused on the opportunities for growth in the developing countries. That is the big growth opportunity. So think of China, think of India, and think of Africa, think of the many other countries around the world, where 85% of the world's population lives. Most of what we've been thinking about business or multinational firms is focused on companies that were serving 1 or 2 billion people on the planet and leaving out the other 5 billion. Now there's the opportunity to serve the other 5 billion. So that is one of the major shifts that's taken place. But that's not enough. For reverse innovation to happen, you also need innovation in the developing countries. And the opportunities for doing that, the capacity for doing that, is growing by the day. And even all of the speeches we heard from the leadership of the university, there's constant referral to entrepreneurship, innovation, and there's an entrepreneurship fever I can sense when I come to India. I could sense that when I went to Israel. I sense that when I go to China, and today I feel it's very vibrant in countries like India, China, and so on. So this confluence of the capacity to innovate with the demand for that innovation being shaped by the conditions of the developing countries is what creates enormous opportunities for reverse innovation. So that's very briefly is the scope of my book. The book applies this idea to the case of healthcare. Okay? So we can talk about why healthcare, so on. It's not particularly my area. Was never a healthcare guy, but I was interested in innovation. And we just happened to look at healthcare as an example where reverse innovation might be possible. So with that, I'm stopped, and I hope we can continue to have the conversation between the two of us and then open it up to all of you. Thank you. Okay. Prasanna, feels like I'm back in IIM Ahmedabad. Anyway, so you already given us an introduction to all the things you've done. One of the important transitions you made professionally, I thought, looking from reading the book, was when you went from being a HR staff advisor to the CEO, and then you took over the leadership of launching a business and became a line manager of a business. That transition is not always easy to make. You know, if you're doomed or destined to be a staff person giving advice, usually you stick to that. If you're a doer, you can't sit back and just be content giving advice. How did you make that transition? How difficult was it? How easy was it for you?
Thanks, Ravi, for that question. For that, I want to go back to before assuming the HR role in Wipro, I worked in your city, Pune. I used to work in telco in a line job. I was in the production, manufacturing. You know, I'm proud to say that I shared a room with Narayan Murthy here in Pune. And we lived in the house of Mr. Shashikant Sharma, who has come here today. Very Shashikant. In his house, he had given us one room. And in that room, both of us were staying. And I was doing a line job. So from a line job, I had to transit to the staff job. And when Premji asked me that you have worked in telco, you have worked in Voltas, in line jobs, and come and do the HR job for Wipro, because that is the most important shortage I have got in growing Wipro. I asked him, why do you say so? He said, I can mobilize capital. I can mobilize business ideas. But what is very difficult to mobilize is talent. So my biggest shortage to make Wipro a bigger business is how to get talent attracted, how to get talent grown, how to do that. So when I did that job, you know, a lot of things were done there, which was perhaps quite first time in terms of finding solutions from basic principles. So let me tell you is that, you know, one of the biggest issues for HR is that manpower. How many people should be there in the organization for a certain size of business? So productivity of people, productivity of different categories of people is a very, very important subject. And so when I had to approach it, I had to think from fundamentals that should we be doing this job in our company? For example, you take sales. Should we sell with direct salesmen ourselves, or should we sell through dealers? Or you take manufacturing. Should we do lots of things in-house, or should we get it done by subcontractors or supply chain? So these types of questions are normally not asked by HR persons. But my background of being a person in the line job gave me the opportunity to constantly question and bring in different facets of productivity. And you know, Premji was a great supporter, and he was a great listener of things. And you know, when we went into the information technology industry, you know, a lot of things there are new. For example, you know, you have, I will give you two examples. There are software engineers. How do you measure software productivity? Now, there was no answer. Now I'm talking of 1980s. there was no answer. How do you measure software productivity? Second was, for the first time, a business was facing where the price of goods constantly come down. I'm talking of electronic chips, semiconductors and all that. Every year, every 2-3 years, the price comes down and the power goes up. Now, in a falling market, how do you buy? So when there were no easy answers, I proposed to Premji that I would like to visit Taiwan, because Taiwan was in those days, Acer was in those days a big company making computers in a fantastic way. I said, I will go and study Epson in Tokyo. I'll go and study Intel in America for both software, as well as I'll go to AT&T in Chicago and study how software productivity is to be approached. Now, this was before, most of you may not know, one of the revolutionary books which came in business was In Search of Excellence. In Search of Excellence talked about benchmarking the best practices in the world and use those best practices to improve your company. So this is what I meant when I said that though I was in HR, and I never thought of, there are now new terminologies are there, best practices, the next practices people talk about. Now, we were searching for answers for fundamental issues. And when fundamental issues had to be solved, we had to think first time on our feet and go and see how to do it. So, though I was a HR person, I was wearing the business cap. And that is how it was much more easy for me. Now, for example, one last example I will give because I should not take too much time on one question. We were to develop talent, I told you. One is attracting talent, second is developing talent. We would come to places like Pune, recruit engineers, recruit the people. And when they work for 2-3 years, now they're ready for being groomed for leadership. So, how to create winners, how to create leaders, how to create a development program to develop young people who are individual contributors into managers, into leaders, was the program I was putting together. So I thought that, we have so many examples of Tata's, this, that, and the other, but what came to my mind was that how do sports clubs pick winners among sportsmen? How do they groom these people to become leaders, these people to become winners, these people to win matches? So I went to Tata Sports Club in Jamshedpur to interview one Mr. Kennedy, who was the head of the sports club. So I will just relate one anecdote here because one more principle I want to bring out here is that. So he told me that, tell me some examples of how you have developed leadership. So he said it starts from the top. The top man must aspire big. I don't understand. You please give me an example. He said that J.R.D. Tata had come for a board meeting of Tisco with Rusi Modi, and he had come in his own private jet, and I'm talking of maybe early 80s. And due to weather, his plane could not take off, and so he said, I will come and spend some time in the Tata Sports Club to find out what's happening in Tata Sports Club. So the sports club leadership made some presentation, we have won this, we have won that, and the like. And then, suddenly he's throwing a question to them that I have a dream, can you achieve it? So people were a little nervous, what is his dream? So he said that I want a Tata employee to be put on the Everest. Can you do it? These guys have put football teams, this, that, and the other, but never a mountaineering expedition to go and climb the Everest. So Kennedy told J.R.D. after consulting his team in a hush-hush manner that we require 7 years. So J.R.D. told him that, look here, already I'm in my, getting into my 80s. 7 years I will not be there to see. I will give you 3 years. Can you achieve it? And he went away. Then these guys were figuring out what the hell, how to do. Then he came back and told that, I want you to put a Tata woman employee on the Everest. So, and then he explained to me how they put Bachinder Pal on the Everest within 3 years. Now, why I'm telling you this example is that, leadership development is not just skill and knowledge and attitude and, some games and this, that, and the other. You have to think big and you have to find ways and means. You have to innovate. Innovation is there in every sphere. So these were some examples which had made me think differently as a HR manager. And so when the transition came for me to lead a business, I was thinking the same way as to how to do things in a different way.
Thank you, thank you. I think what you're saying, one of the things as a takeaway for the students is that the rotating between these line and staff opportunities, even if you're inclined to be a line person, which I think you are, you still spent a season in a staff role. And I was just working with a company called Schneider Electric, and one of their very high-flying executives who was running a line of business was asked to become chief strategy officer. Of course, he really didn't want to be a chief strategy officer, giving advice to somebody else about the strategy. He wanted to implement his strategy, but I could see that he was learning so many new things about what it means to be a line manager from the perspective of a staff person. So you learn in each turn. And the other thing which you mentioned, which I think is very interesting, is the innovative mindset. You were looking for ideas in places where a lot of people would not look for ideas. So going to a sports team and trying to get ideas. C.K. Prahalad, who was one of the very distinguished Indian academics, he always used to say that the future is already here. I mean, you've heard this idea before. It's just not everywhere, but it's hiding somewhere, and usually hiding in the periphery. So if you're only focused on the center stage, you miss the things that will become important in the future. So this idea of going to unconventional places to looking for ideas, I think is a terrific one. I want to switch gears now a little bit and talk about something that I think is very important in all companies, and certainly at MIT, World Peace University, given the values that the university is trying to inculcate. Can you operate ethically in the business world in India? We hear about corruption at every turn. And yet, I know foreign companies, at least US companies, are bound by Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, that they cannot engage in some of the same practices. The question is then, can you succeed? And yet, you were able to take Wipro GE from a completely new player into top one or two companies. What's the secret for doing that?
See, when Wipro GE was formed by Wipro and GE, the GE's position in the medical systems market was number 5. And they wanted to be number 1 or number 2 in 5 years. And I was selected as the CEO. And the mandate given Ravi was that you must become number 1 or number 2 ethically. It's not just getting growth and becoming number 1 or number 2, but you must do it ethically. Why this was important was that, if you go back to the 80s, the country had very high tax rates. The country had very high custom duty. And there was a lot of licenses and permits required to start anything, whether it's a hospital, diagnostic center, and the like. So in the medical field as well as many other fields, a lot of unhealthy practices were prevalent in a big way. So you take, for example, income tax. Income tax rates were, the marginal tax rates were some 50, 60, 75% in those days. So a lot of business which deals with cash, in those days there was very little credit card, there was very little digital transfer of money, etc. So a hospital or a restaurant business is all cash. People would come, pay cash and get the service and go. And those companies would not disclose the full revenue. Because if they earned 100 rupees, and if they made, say, 30, 40 rupees profit, and if they have to pay 75% tax, they thought that let us declare only 50 rupees as revenue and save some tax. Same way, if they imported some equipment and if 100% was the duty, they would request the supplier of the equipment that you under invoice. Instead of 100 rupees equipment, you invoice the equipment at 50 rupees and we will give 50 rupees in cash to you. And on 50 rupees, my duty will be half. Or for getting permits and licenses, they had to go and pay some money. So in this type of environment, how do you become ethically, number one? And G had a unit called ELPRO in the city. So G was there for 40, 50 years in India with manufacturing. And still they were number 5. Because they could not crack this so-called winning the business ethically. And when joint venture was formed, neither Wipro nor GE knew how to crack this. So what we did was that, some MBA students are here. So the first thing we did was that we did market segmentation on ethics. So if there are, 20 city buyers and some 5 MR buyers, MR costs $1 million and a city would cost $250,000 in those days. So we could count on our hands who are the potential prospects. And there would be perhaps 20 city buyers and some 10 MR buyers in the country. And then we would rank them that which of those customers would buy transparently, would buy ethically. And perhaps we could find 5, 25%. So what I want to send the message to you is that India is not totally corrupt. So at least there are 50% of the market in any sector where there is clean, ethical, transparent business. It is first you have to find that. And if you find that, you must win it. So those people who are ethical, they will be very demanding. They will have very difficult situation. They will say, can you give me the solution within this very small budget? So that is where you have to put on your thinking cap and do it. That's where you have to have an attitude of nothing is impossible. If these are the 4 only customers I have got to win, I have to go and do it. So this is one way to do it. Second way is that, I'll talk about the medical industry. Medical industry was concentrated in the metro cities and in leading government hospitals. They were the only ones who could buy very expensive diagnostic equipment. And as I told you, only 25% of that market was available to us to even compete. So we found that if we have to become number 1 or number 2, we cannot simply bang our head on these metro cities. So can we go outside to tier 2, tier 3 cities and find out whether there is a market, whether we can create a market? So when you are stonewalled with corruption or with any problem which you cannot beat the entrenched competition, you should look outside. Creating a market is something which is a solution. When you create a market, it could be a niche market, it could be a specialty market. If you are the first mover and if you are the first person to create a good solution there, then in that segment, you can set the rules of the game. You can say that only if customers can buy straightforward, ethically, I'm going to sell to you because I'm the only person having that solution. So that's the way we cracked the market and became leader in the tier 2, tier 3 cities. And then we came back to the metros and used the flank strategy and won there as well. So this is one of the ways.
Terrific. Two invaluable lessons, I think. One is the most difficult customer is often your best customer. You know, we always like to complain about, oh, this customer is so finicky and so on. But if you can satisfy the most demanding customer, then you can satisfy everybody else. So I think that's a beautiful lesson. The other thing which you mentioned in my own work on developing countries is often in developing countries, you have to create markets. It's not a market share game. If you think of it as a market share game, you're focused on the existing consumers, and everybody wants to fight for a piece of that customer base. The real question is, can you turn non-consumers who have never consumed the product before into consumers? And I think GE was able to help make that happen. And Krishna, your diagnostics business model is a great example of how, with some innovation, you can make products and services available for the first time to people who never consumed a product or service. I can't let you go without asking about the challenges of doing what you did. You said that the products that GE had to offer for India off the shelf were not affordable for the Indian market. And and the book certainly goes at great length talking about what you had to do to make GE products or reinvent them to be affordable for the Indian market. Can you walk us through quickly, how do you take a product that maybe GE prices at 100 and find a way to deliver it to the Indian consumer at maybe 10, 20? It's not 90 or 80, but you really need to go very deep in terms of lowering the costs. How do you do that without compromising on quality? Because this goes to a question that keeps coming up in the developing countries, which is, can you have a high quality product at a very low price? Everybody knows how to make a low quality product at a very low price. And everybody knows how to make a high quality product at a very high price. But what emerging markets need is a high quality product at a very low price. How do you do that?
So let me take the example of a CT scanner. See, CT scanner, when we wanted to get more of that CT scan facility to Indian patient, the first thing we had made GE agree was that to reduce the price of that by say 25-30%, we will make it in India. Now, of course, they had given only one condition. If you learn how to conduct business ethically, we will transfer technology for you to make the CT in India. So that's what we did in the first year, I told you. So they said, okay, you can go ahead now and build the CT in India at 25-30% less cost to the customer. But what Professor is asking me is that 25-30 is not enough. I want 50%. I want 60% less. Because that is what a poor patient can afford to pay for a scan in Raipur or in Tripura or wherever it is. So, you have to accept that you cannot raise. But then what it sets you thinking is that, how is the customer using the product? See, a CT scanner or an MRI scanner is housed inside what is called a suite or a room. And then there is a workflow of patient coming there, waiting, going through certain procedures, then going to the CT scanner and coming out and then reporting, etc. So what we started looking at is that if we cannot reduce the cost of the scanners by more than 25% by making locally, and we want to reduce it 50%, then look at the total service chain of the CT scanner in the hospital or diagnostic center. And we found it is more easy to reduce the cost and make it more efficient, make it more productive in the non-product areas. So we got this solution very quickly, and we could do the product as a suite and look at the cost lower. The second aspect is that it is not enough to reduce the cost upfront by 25%. You should be able to reduce the cost further every year 10%. That means if you start with a product which costs 10 lakhs, you make in India and make it 7.5 lakhs. Next year, you make further improvements and make it 6.5 lakhs. Like that, you bring it down to 4-5 lakhs over a period of time. And for that, you require to innovate, you require to build a supply chain which is smart, which is innovative, and which reduces the cost along with you. So creating such a supply chain is not just going and giving an order to some supplier and say you do it. That person may not have technology. So it is the job of the main equipment producer to even search in the world for innovative technology for the supplier. Put those two people together, make them transfer technology, and then reduce the cost. So you have to sustain innovation, you have to sustain cost reduction, you have to do it over the entire product life cycle of that product till you can come out with a new product. And technology transfer, let me spend a few minutes with you, is that now this Make in India program is going on. The government wants a lot of companies which are making, importing products into India, and India is an important market for them, so they're saying, you make in India. Now the basic Make in India concept has been for many, many decades. What is known as technology transfer program, phased manufacturing program, localization program. These are things which lead to certain reduction in product cost. But if you want to make in India, and if you want make India to be a base for that product, you have to transfer and learn real technology. In all these phased manufacturing programs, what you are getting is that testing methods, jigs and fixtures, drawings, SOPs, blah, 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 which all give you manufacturing knowledge, which all give you knowledge of how to manufacture and produce the product. It does not give you the technology behind the product. So if you want to make in India on a sustainable basis, you have to search for getting that core technology of the product from the world. Assimilate the technology. Produce the technology at a much lower cost. Then you will be able to produce the next model, the successor product. So these are some tricks which one has to do in order to sustain competitiveness.
Thank you. I think, again, terrific. The role of, the leader like you, and our topic today is leadership and innovation. The leader has a very important role to play in motivating, inspiring, and certainly in my own work in the healthcare field, I saw the same thing, which you had leaders who were able to inspire people to do things that otherwise would have seemed very difficult. It's also, you can see why Indian executives who go and work for US companies rise to the top, so many of them. Because operating in the Indian context or in the emerging markets context is, I think, much harder than operating in a developed country context. To be a business leader in an emerging or a developing country, you have to do much more than what you would have to do if you were running a similar business in a developed country. And one example, as you said, is developing suppliers. Sometimes you have what is called an institutional void. That is, a certain business or industry does not even exist in the developing country that you can take for granted when you're in the developed country. So as the leader, you are not only running your own business, you are filling all these voids in the environment. And that makes the job that much more difficult. And as you say, for the Make in India program, anybody who's in charge of that program, involved in the program, should read your book. Because it tells you that this is not going to be an easy journey if you really want to master the technologies. Superficially, you can assemble do the last step in the production process. But really, you want to get beyond the last step. You want to keep working your way backwards and get to the heart of the technology. And I must say here, Chinese companies have done a marvelous job. I visited China every year for the last 15 years and would go to all these different companies. I was always struck by how ambitious the companies were, not only to make the product, but to keep mastering the know-how, absorbing the technology, improving on it. And as someone summarized that strategy as copy, paste, innovate. Copy, paste is the starting point. That's fine. But if you stop with that, it's not enough. Copy, paste, then innovate. And as you innovate, you'll innovate for the local context. And those solutions will actually then have tremendous value in other developing countries. And you see the evidence in China's case. And India needs to do the same thing. And what you were able to do for MedTech, that's the kind of difficult journey that hopefully will also then play out in some of the other industries in which we are operating. Should we switch gears?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, we'll keep bouncing back and forth because as you are talking,
Sure.
I'm seeing similarities in some areas to the kinds of things that we saw in our work in the healthcare field.
So I'm going to ask some questions to Professor Ramurthy today. See, the cost of surgery, you take cataract surgery, for example. In India, the best of cataract surgery costs 40,000 rupees, let's say $500 at Arvind Eye Care. The same surgery with the same type of outcome costs $3,500 or 3 lakhs in US. This type of difference in cost between US and India has been known for many years. What motivated you to start research about this in 2015?
A couple of reasons. The first is the healthcare industry is clearly a very important industry in all countries. In developed countries, it's important because it consumes vast amount of the resources. In the US, 18% of GDP is spent on healthcare. That's about $4 trillion. That's more than the total GDP of India, right? So, and it's continues to grow at very high rates, and as the population ages, it's going to go up even higher. So there's a real need to find a way to control the cost of healthcare in the rich countries. In the poor countries, it's largely a challenge of access. In the US, 90% of the population is insured, but 10% is not. And 10% is 30 million people. One of the richest countries in the world really don't have health insurance. But if you go to countries like India, we have the exact opposite. 10% are insured, have health insurance of some kind. The vast majority are uninsured. So healthcare is a very important sector. And even though both VG, my co-author, and I didn't have a background in healthcare, we thought we have to see if there's any lessons we can learn from the developing countries on how to fix the problems of healthcare, not only in the developing countries, but maybe also in the developed countries. So we had heard about these examples, like Arvind, Narayana Health, but we were not sure, are their costs lower because their quality is poor? Are their costs lower because simply all salaries are lower? Are their costs lower because they don't have to spend money on research and training like many of the leading hospitals in the US? I mean, what is the reason? What are the reasons? And is there anything these organizations are doing that is innovation that others can learn? So that was the motivation for deciding to plunge a little deeper into this question. And Arvind was often held up as maybe a special case. You know, eye surgery is not that complicated. You can make it like an assembly line. You can put them in a line and keep on doing eye operations. But you can't do other procedures like that. You can't do cancer treatment like that. You can't do open heart surgery like that. So does the approaches, methods used by, say, Arvind for eye problems, can they also be applied to other kinds of health conditions? So we said, let's take a systematic look and see what we find.
Now, people like Dr. Devi Shetty or Dr. Arvind and others whom you researched, how did you earn their trust to share their best practices and to share the way they have been able to achieve it?
It was not difficult, really, because the motivation for many of these founders of the hospitals that we studied, and these are very carefully selected, 7 hospitals that we focus on, not because they represent the average of Indian hospitals, but because they represent outliers who seem to be doing something innovative. They were doing something innovative in the sense that they were pricing their products even lower than other Indian hospitals. So it wasn't just that all Indian hospitals were cheap. These hospitals were costs and prices were lower than those of other private hospitals. And also the quality, from what we could tell, appeared to be good, despite the low costs, but we had to confirm that in our research. But what was really striking about these hospitals was, to a large extent, they wanted to provide care for people who could not afford health care. Goes back to the consumer, non-consumer. They wanted to serve the non-consumers. They wanted to serve people who could not afford their product. Now think about this. So start a business where you want to serve people who can't afford your product. Everybody wants to go serve the consumer who has, a lot of spending power. But the founders of many of these hospitals, like Devi Shetty or Dr. V, in the case of Arvind, or Dr. Rao in the case of L.V. Prasad, I think of them, or we think of them in our research as, they're not profit maximizers, they're not market share maximizers, they are reach maximizers. They want to reach the greatest number of people. So if they could earn 100 rupees from serving one patient versus earning 100 rupees from serving 5 patients, they don't think the two are the same. They want to go after the second option because they feel I've helped 5 people, whereas in this case I only helped 1 person. So this desire to make the service available to people who couldn't afford it, and something as essential as eyesight, is a very motivating purpose. Therefore, they didn't see this as a competitive game. They said, if you want to come and learn from me, go ahead. Because the founder of Arvind Eye Care, his goal was to eliminate needless blindness in the world. He didn't say, I want to eliminate it in Madurai, or I want to eliminate it in Tamil Nadu, or even India. He said, I want to eliminate it in the world. Because he said, I don't care who you are. If I can help you get vision, I want to do it. So they spent a lot of resources inviting foreign hospitals to come and study how they did it. This is a bit like Toyota. Toyota would invite companies to come and see how they did their amazing manufacturing. Guess what? Half of them couldn't copy it because it wasn't easy to do what they were doing. You can see it, but it wasn't easy to replicate it because you had to create the whole system. And an important part of the system was this purpose. Why were these founders doing what they were doing? And we call them in our book doctorpreneurs. In most cases, they were doctors. So they understood what good medical practice is. Many of them were trained overseas or worked overseas. So they aspired for medical excellence. But they combined two other qualities that not all doctors have. One is compassion. This is where the reach maximization idea comes. They really wanted to be able to serve a lot of people. And the third piece, which is really rare among doctors who also have compassion, is a business mindset. That's why we call them entrepreneurs, doctorpreneurs, because they ran it as a business. They understood that in order to do good, in order to maximize reach, you need profit. You need a business model that is internally sustainable. And so for them, when we walked in and asked, can we learn more about your story, most of them said, please help share our story. So we had no problem with access. They did open a lot of their internal costs, and in some cases, in great detail. Narayana Health was very open. Arvind is generally a very, very open company. So we didn't get the information of that granular detail from all cases, but we certainly got them from at least enough to be able to dig deeper in a few places.
So Ravi, I think I can see some parallel. You said that Arvind was aspiring that blindness be treated not only in Madurai or in South India or India, but even across the world. And they were open to share their practices. That means aspire big, I told you. If you want innovation to happen, you have to aspire big. Second, what I heard you say is that they were creating a market. Access is the word you used. They were trying to make the surgery accessible more and more poorer and remote patients. So they were creating a market where there was no market earlier. So these are some things which push innovation. Let me come back and ask you another question. You touched upon, the doctors and nurses are multiple times costly in US compared to India. But, the other variables in a competitive cost healthcare delivery are medicines. Now, generics are available in India as well as in US. It is consumables. We need not depend only on Johnson & Johnson's expensive sutures, but so many things are available across the world now. You can buy it. So when a lot of these things which are available also to the US system, how is it that the US system is so expensive compared to India?
That's a great question. The US has developed into a set of perverse incentives, which are so deeply now entrenched that nobody feels they can change it easily. So a top-down reform of the US healthcare system is politically infeasible, especially in today's climate in Washington, DC. For this audience, it won't be that much interest to know what in the US to do to fix its problems. So let me take a different take on your question. and that is to see what is it that the Indian organizations are doing that allows them to be so much more cost competitive. By the way, I'll just clarify one thing. Salaries of nurses and administrators in the US are many, many times higher than they are in India, but not doctors. Doctors are part of a global labor market. The doctors who work for great hospitals in India can go to Singapore, can go to the Middle East, can go to London, UK, or go to the US. So their salaries, while they are not as high in India as they are in the US, maybe 30% to 75% of that what is paid to people in the US. And that the salaries of surgeons and the highly skilled doctors is half the total HR budget. So there's a very significant part of the HR budget where you really don't have a huge cost advantage in India. So how do the Indian hospitals do it? Without getting into too many details, I'll just give you like the headline. We break it into three major levers. One is the power of volume. And you can quickly guess, if you've seen the pictures in Arvind, the number of patients lining up, it winds. And they do 1,000 surgeries a day. And the average doctor in Arvind will do 1,000 surgeries in the course of a year, which is about 5 times what an average surgeon would do in the US. So they have volume. But in the aggregate, US actually has more volume because India has a lot of demand which is not met. Only 5% of cancer patients are diagnosed and treated. Right? The same thing even for eye care. It's still a fraction of the number of people who need the care. But what India has done through these hospitals is to steer the volume through a hub and spoke design so that at every step in the hub and spoke, you have the right volume. So where the volumes are low in a highly decentralized setup, you don't have the most sophisticated equipment or the most sophisticated skills. But if a person needs it, it gets escalated to the next level, and then to the next level, and maybe in serious cases, they may come to Bangalore to a center of excellence for care. So that whole design configuration of the assets with careful allocation of skills and equipment in a way that you can use everything to the fullest capacity all the time, that design, I think, allows them to drive down their costs. Volume also allows you to improve quality because healthcare is a service and practice makes perfect. So you often hear that Indian doctors will say about Western doctors, oh, those doctors, they see very few cases. I see 5 times the number of cases. I've seen every variation of every situation. That's true. You do get much richer experience as a doctor. And it's also a way, by the way, they attract good doctors because if you work for Arvind or a Narayana Health, you'll get much more practice, much more experience than you would if working for anybody else. So power of volume is one. Power of process is another. And that is thinking about every aspect of how you treat, as you said, when you look at that service value chain, you discover it's not only one little piece of it that determines the cost, but there are all these other inefficient pieces. And maybe we can do something to improve the productivity and the efficiency of the other pieces. One person put it very nicely as, too many hospital administrators focus on what they call wheels in to wheels out. When do you wheel in the patient? And when do you wheel out the patient? So how long did it take to do the procedure? But they don't look at the time between wheels out and wheels in. How much time is the OT underutilized? How much time is the doctor, nurses, and all those people underutilized? How can we reduce that, right? So they think about the power of, they think about process very carefully, and they do lots of very creative things, which we don't have time to get into. But the third thing is the power of purpose. The power of purpose. And that's what I referred to earlier. These hospitals have a more inspiring purpose. If I go to work in Arvind Eye Care, and I know that if I help to bring down the cost, that will be used, maybe more likely to be used to give one more person sight, rather than to fill the pockets of some rich owner that's a huge motivator. And as you said, difficulties and constraints are actually reasons to innovate. So the good news, the bad news is that we have a lot of constraints in countries like India. But the good news is, therefore, there's lots more room for innovation in India than there is in other places. So they use this power of purpose to drive innovation in ways that you don't see in hospitals where you don't have that kind of inspiring purpose. And a piece of that is targeting the poor in addition to the rich. As one, Devi Shetty likes to put it, he says, a lot of hospitals say we're created for the rich, but we also treat some poor patients. He says, our hospital is created for the poor, and we also treat some rich patients. It's a very interesting twist. And Arvind actually has 50% or so of its patients as free or subsidized care. So I think all of this leads to this combination of high quality and low cost. Again, going back to what you mentioned, poor countries like India need this combination of high quality and low cost. And Toyota showed us you can do it in manufacturing. Urban Eye Care shows us you can do it in healthcare too.
So we'll open this to the questions. And before that, I just want to dwell on one more point, is that innovation beyond product. I think I want the students and practitioners here to think about it. When we think of innovation, we're mostly thinking of product. But I think, innovation plays a big role in business models. And here, since we have Krishna Diagnostics amongst us, I want to tell you that the evolution of the Krishna Diagnostics model is a classic example of innovation in business model. See, when companies like GE and others could not win the government market, government hospitals market, and the government hospitals themselves were very unhappy, the ministers, the administrators, the patients, because there are a lot of buildings, government hospital buildings, but either they don't have the right doctor, either the equipment does not work, or the technologist does not come, or service is not there. So the system was broken down at multiple places. So when these companies, when GE wanted to win the government market in a big way, they came up with an idea with the Madhya Pradesh government and with one more state government, which had innovative bureaucrats who were willing to push the envelope to experiment with new things. So the idea they came up with was that, can the government get out of the diagnostic business? Government has got a lot of buildings and it has got a lot of dissatisfied patients. So you lease the space of the hospital to, say, GE. And you allow dual pricing, like what he was talking about, Devi Shetty. That is, we will treat the BPL patients at whatever price you want them to be treated for diagnostics. Suppose a CT scan costs 1,000 rupees, and you want to charge BPL patients 200 rupees. Okay, we will provide the BPL patient 200 rupees scan, but allow us to use the scanner also for full paying patients. And if we find that the mix of full paying patients and BPL patients, we can run the diagnostics department viably, economically, responsibly, sustainably, then we are willing to commit that we will put the equipment, we will run it for 7 years, and we will operate the equipment, and we will satisfy the patient. So the government does not even invest capital. But of course, like a lot of you who work with multinationals know, the GE lawyers would not allow it to be implemented. Because they said that if a dissatisfied patient sues GE that you were to give a scan, you are not given properly. So give me $1 million. Then there will be so many cases coming in as GE that we cannot implement this model. So then came the idea that are there companies which are running diagnostic centers like Krishna, can they take the responsibility as a clinical service operator? Then rest of the variables will remain same, but a Krishna will operate the clinical services. And since they have been experienced in the diagnostic business, they know how to do it, how to manage the risk, how to manage the business. And that is how this model was implemented in Madhya Pradesh and another Himachal Pradesh. And today I want to tell you that this system has been so successful. 25 states have adopted it. Krishna itself operates 2,500 government hospitals. 2,500. And these 2,500 hospitals, we have technological equipment for more than 10 crores each, which means we're talking of some unimaginable size of investment which has been done. So this is business model innovation. And that is what Krishna has sustained. And I want you to give a big hand to them for making it work.
Girish, we now take.
Thank you, gentlemen. The house is open for some questions. If there are some students, some of the guests who arrived have some questions for the guests here. Else, we are kind of almost on the time. Anybody up for any question? So maybe I think it's kind of time for us to. Is there somebody?
Hello.
One hand in the back.
Hello.
Yeah, can you?
Yeah, sir, my name is Dr. B.Gdeshmukh. I want to say that what is the innovation strategy? How do we innovate? Is the necessity is always mother of invention. Can you explain this?
Can you repeat the question, please?
What is the innovation strategy in general, apart from the medical diagnostics? And how do we innovate? Is the necessity always the mother of invention?
Okay, so, it is a very loaded question. So let me answer it this way, is that you have to build an innovation culture. How do you build an innovation culture in any business? I think the first and foremost point I told you is that the leadership should have aspirational goals. If you have incremental goals, that last year, I did this year I will do 10% extra. It is difficult for that organization to come up with any out-of-the-box ideas. But if you say in 1 year I want to grow 20 times, nobody will even attempt. So you should have an aspirational goal for about 5 years ahead. And then have some steps to get there. Nobody will know how you will get there in day one. So first and foremost, leaders must set aspirational goals for their institution, whether it is educational, hospital, manufacturing, what it is. And then you must start with the customer. Your customer could be a student, your customer could be in whatever business. And understand how to delight the customer. And can you delight the customer better than currently it is being done by competition? Customer delight is a starting point for modifications to a service or a product. Then, you have to build a team which is constantly looking at excellence. How do you look at excellence? You benchmark. So benchmarking with other competitors is extremely important if you want to excel beyond what the industry current practice is. I want to give you a small anecdote here. When we built the factory, there was nothing inside the factory, machines, no product, nothing. But I wanted to inculcate in the team the benchmarking spirit. So I asked my general manager manufacturing, what can we benchmark? He was laughing at me, well, nothing is possible, sir. So then I suggested to him that you have built a very nice factory and you have built a very nice compound. And I see that there is a garden there. So why don't you compete for the best factory garden in the city? So he said, how will it help in terms of my competitiveness? I said, your team should go and find out who won that last year. How did they do it? Learn from them. Send your Mali. Get the whole team involved. And I tell you, our factory won the Urban Art Award for the best garden. And there were the first seeds of benchmarking. So I don't want to labor this point too much, but first, set aspirational goal, start from the customer, and third, build a sense of striving for excellence in every member of your team, in everything they do. Then you will get there.
Thank you. Anybody else? I have another person on the...
Good evening, sir. Prasanna sir and Amurthy sir. So a few years ago, I came across one interview of Mr. Vinod Khosla, co-founder of Sun Microsystems, and he was being interviewed at Stanford. This was a similar scenario. And he makes one startling observation while answering one question. He mentions that, and I quote him, he says that, I am hard-pressed to think of even one big company in USA in last 20, 30 years that has come up with any breakthrough or disruptive innovation. All the breakthrough and disruptive innovations have come from small companies, startups. So he gives, for instance, like Walmart, Fortune 500, #1 company, but it didn't change the landscape of retail. It was changed by a tiny startup called Amazon. The landscape of media was changed not by NBC, it was changed by YouTube. And the landscape of space, similarly, was not changed by Lockheed Martin, which is world's biggest arms and ammunition company. It was changed by, again, SpaceX, a startup. Now, to set the context, in India, we have similar, very bustling startup ecosystem with 138 unicorn companies and thousands of startup companies. But what I see as a faculty that there are no disruptive or breakthrough innovations coming from Indian soil. What can be the reason and what can we do to change this situation? Thank you.
I think it's a very interesting and accurate fact that you're describing. There is some inbuilt conflict of interest for the incumbent to be the disruptor, right? Because they're vested in the old legacy technologies. But I'll make one point, and then I'm going to turn it over to Prasanna, and that is, as a late industrializing country, India has the one advantage once in a lifetime when you start to play catch up, that you can leapfrog. India can leapfrog in ways that US cannot, because the US companies are already at the forefront of whatever the technology is in a given industry. It's much easier, therefore, for Indian companies to take what are globally disruptive strategies. And that is something that China has done very well. For instance, think of solar power. Think of all the renewable energy fields. Think of EVs. Think of EV batteries. They recognized that in these industries they could leapfrog. And if they, because they were not held back, the Chinese companies were not held back by this problem of legacy technologies. So I hope that India will also create those kinds of companies. It's fine, if it doesn't come out of the incumbents in the US, but the opportunity for India is maybe Indian companies could do that. But in order to do that, they would have to do some of the things that Prasanna has been talking about and that his book talks about. That is, you have to make deep investment in learning, deep commitment to excellence, as Prasanna says, it's in every sphere, because it's a culture of excellence that you want to create. And on the benchmarking, you want to benchmark yourself globally too. It's, you don't want to be content if you're just the best in India. You may, first step may be to be the best in India, but then once you get to that, you have to aspire to be the best in your industry globally. And I find that passion, that hunger among Chinese companies, I find just amazing. I don't know why it is there. I think some of it may be state support. And there's 5-year plans. When they put something as a priority in the 5-year plan, companies can assume that it will be achieved and it will be followed through. But whatever the reason is, I think there is a strong commitment to mastering technologies, which your generation, many of you here are engineers, need to pursue some of the examples that Prasanna talks about in his book to master those technologies and help to become world-class and not just the best in India.
I want to add to what Professor Ramurthy said here, is that, see, in India, what I have seen, my heroes were Vikram Sarabhai, my heroes were Baba, my heroes were Kalam, Dr. Kalam. Why? Because they had big responsibility and big vision. Baba had to create the first atomic bomb in India. And Sarabhai had to create the first rocket delivery system to deliver that bomb. And no IIT person would join BRC or ISRO or any other organization. So, like I came from NIE. You don't even know what NIE is. Now, mostly people from that type of colleges, engineers from Tier 2, Tier 3 cities joined ISRO, joined BRC, and they worked there. But these leaders inspired the mission and got extraordinary performance from ordinary people. So India is very good at that. So don't lose heart. There are two ways of doing things in life. One is mission mode. Another is manufacturing type of mode, which you continue to do things every year, same car, better car. India is very good in mission mode. When it takes up a mission, against all odds, whole world is denying technology to these people. Sarabhai went to Trivandrum and he died in the sleep. And it is rumored that he was killed. Baba's plane met with an accident in Switzerland and he died. Again, it is rumored that countries which are against India, their secret services were behind sabotaging that plane. In spite of that, we did those things. Those are not ordinary things. But they inspired their organization. And they inspired in very, very few words. For example, Kalam, he had to deliver a large, heavy launcher to launch the big rockets. So the message he gave to the entire ISRO was that He could not say that you build a PSLV with a 300-ton payload and it will have 3 cryogenic rockets and this, that, and the other. And people will not understand at the bottom. He gave a simple word that ignite the minds. Like you ignite a rocket. So there was a certain energy created in the organization of ISRO and other places, DRDO and other places, where it was done. The same you take with respect to our country's achievement during COVID. We were the only country where the migrant labor or whoever it is could get the app on his 3,000 rupee hand-me-down cell phone. He could use that Arogya Setu and he could find out where he could get his vaccination, COVID vaccine. He could find out in what centers it is available in his area of where he was living. And whether he can get an appointment on which day of the week, and whether it is morning or evening. For 1 billion people to do it. We did it. And after that, when he did the vaccination, his certificate was uploaded on his cell phone. And in those days, if you remember, you could not enter a mall or you could not enter a restaurant without a COVID vaccination certificate. India was the only country in the world, even US could not achieve it. India was the only country in the world where 1 billion people had their vaccination certificates on their cell phone. So let us not underestimate that we have not done things. We have not innovated. Digital world is a brand new area where you are leapfrogging all legacy technologies. Take Paytm. The Moongfali wala is collecting money through Paytm. And one small anecdote I want to tell you, that the sales of toffees and chiclets have come down, I believe. Earlier they were given as change, money. When that fellow could not pay the change, he would used to give it. Now through Paytm, they're paying the exact amount. So I think, you should take pride and you should take confidence that we as a nation can do lots of things if we have self-confidence in ourselves. A lot of times we do not have self-confidence.
If I can just add to that, maybe, I know probably time to wrap up. Yeah, thank you. Just to add to Prasanna's point, we have to take advantage of the size of the Indian market, population, and the large numbers of people who are non-consumers. So whatever product or business you may be engaged in, see if there is a way to bring some non-consumers into the fore. Because anything you do to help turn those non-consumers into consumers will be a solution not just for 1 billion people in India, but for 5 billion people on the planet. And it can be the basis for a very competitive export and globalization strategy for your business. So we must take advantage of the large size of the population and the fact that many of them are not participating in many of the products and services that the rest of us are participating in. And that can be the basis for, it's also very inspiring to use that as a way to drive your costs down. Europe was deficient in energy, so many innovations in Europe were energy-saving innovations. US was deficient in labor, so many innovations in US were labor-saving innovations. Japan is deficient in space because they're very tightly packed. So many innovations in Japan tended to miniaturize or save space. India has an abundance of people who cannot afford many products and services. affordability innovation on a scale that other countries could not attempt can come out of India. And when you make affordability innovations, it is of value to the whole world, not just to India. So it's an enormous opportunity if people like you can seize it, and our students can seize it.
Thank you, Professor Ravi. Thank you, Prasanna. May I call for a closure of this conversation, please?
Thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much all dignitaries for participating in such a wonderful event this evening. Before we conclude this evening, I would like to request the Dean of MIT World Peace University's School of Business, Dr. Deependra Sharma sir, to kindly propose vote of thanks.
I can understand the reason of your clapping. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to all those who are present here for this innovation and entrepreneurship event held at this esteemed Swami Vivekananda University. It's my privilege and I feel honored to give a vote of thanks for a session which is being conducted by the people whose name I don't have the guts to take their name. सर हमारे यहाँ प्रथा है कि जो बड़े गुरु होते हैं हम उनका नाम नहीं लेते, तो मैं आप लोगों का नाम नहीं लूँगा, but it's a way of showing our respect to all of you. But before I express my vote of thanks to everybody, I just want to share the backdrop that how this event was conceptualized or how did it happen. So our Sakal team visited our Vice Chancellor's office and they were asking for some sponsorship for this event. And this event was supposed to happen at some neutral event. It was not an MIT. But you always know that our Vice Chancellor is a very wise man. So he was able to hijack may be a wrong word, he was able to convince the Sakal team to bring this event at MIT. So I want to thank you, VC sir, for giving us an opportunity to attend this session. Otherwise, I am sure that many of us would have missed this opportunity to listen. At the same time, I am also thankful to the Sakal team for accepting the proposal that we made and bring all your event to this particular session. And we are hopeful that it is the first one in the journey, and many more events of Sakal will be happening at MIT, and it's going to be a learning experience. But hard thak jayenge, just bear with me. Don't take so much of pain. Okay. Secondly, I extend my sincere appreciation to all the dignitaries who graced this occasion with their presence and actively participated in the enlightening session. Your wisdoms and perspective have enriched our understanding of innovation and leadership in today's dynamic. I express a special thanks to Mr. Girish for introducing our experts and the innovative method that you have done for having this interactive session. So I'm hopeful that you will keep guiding us in the future also, and we will be inviting you for more sessions over here. We look forward for that. My heartfelt gratitude also goes to Mr. Ashutosh Ramgir of Sakal Media for delivering a captivating welcome address that set the tone for the insightful discussion for the day. I would also like to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to both the esteemed experts who have shared their knowledge and expertise. Your willingness to impart your wisdom and engage in a meaningful dialogue has been instrumental in shaping the intellectual discourse of this event, sir. Your contributions have not only broadened our horizons, but also ignited the flames of innovation and leadership within each one of us. A sincere thanks to our Vice Chancellor, Dr. Chitnis sir, our Pro-Vice Chancellor, Milind Pandey sir, and our guest, Pallavi madam, for their thoughtful discussion and the deliberation that you made over here. The interactive session that allowed us to deeper into the ideas presented by our esteemed speakers, their expertise and perspective will undoubtedly be guiding us for the path of innovation and leadership. The engagement with our students during the question-hour session was both enlightening and encouraging. We appreciate the students, your enthusiasm and curiosity in seeking knowledge from our distinguished panel. As we draw this event to a close, let us not forget the tireless efforts of the organizing team and all those who work behind the scenes to make this event a success. Your dedication is appreciated. I thank all of you, ladies and gentlemen, for being a part of this remarkable journey of exploration, learning, and inspiration. May the ideas and thoughts shared here continue to ignite our passion for the innovation, leadership, and in our endeavors. And before I conclude, I just want to share one information There was a name of a one company, Telco, which was mentioned by Sir. Now this Telco is known as Tata Motors. And one more thing is that the alumni of MIT is heading this Tata Motor as a CMD, and the name of that person is Grishwal. So you should know that the institution in which you are sitting right now, the institution where you have become a part of it, what type of legacy we are carrying forward. So none of your behavior should be in a way which is not a part of our legacy. And thank you once again to all of you for being a part of this session. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I request everyone to rise in their seats for national anthem as we conclude this evening. National anthem, please. Everyone in the audience, take care of yourself. Good night.